and salam sejahtera to all viewers. I am Siti Salwah Atan, a PhD student of Fakulti Pendidikan, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, and I'm involved with my research in the area of Malay language with my supervisor, Professor Dr. Zamri Mahmud. Okay, today I'm going to discuss with all viewers regarding my research entitled Factors that use of Google Classroom among secondary school students. This time, I narrow my study by conducting a study in the area of Port Dickson, where the focus of my study is on Form 4 students here. Okay, now let's move on to my first part of introduction. I think everyone has heard about Google Classroom. Google Classroom is one of the platforms that quite popular among educators and students all around the world. It is a platform provided by Google and widely used in education. Google Classroom is a famous web tool with a variety of useful features and applications. Like many other Web 2.0 technologies, Google Classroom offers potential for teaching and learning for students and educators. Teachers can create and arrange assignments quickly, provide feedback swiftly, and connect with their classes easily. Google Classroom encourages students to acquire higher order thinking skills, problem-solving skills, which are more desirable in this digital age. It is an integrated solution method that enables teaching, learning to be carried out through a virtual learning platform. Google Classroom can easily be accessed at the school or anywhere else via internet access. That is why Google Classroom has become the choice as one of the virtual learning platforms in Malaysia. Okay, now let us look at the research objectives. There are 4 main objectives of this research. First, it is to study the level of ICT skills of students. Secondly, to study the level of ICT facilities provided in schools. Thirdly, to study the level of use of Google Classroom among students. Last but not least, to examine whether there is a significant relationship between student ICT skill level with their use of Google Classroom. Okay, now let us go through the literature review. By using the Google Classroom as a learning and teaching platform, students can easily access the learning materials anytime and regardless, almost from everywhere, as long as there is an internet connectivity around you. This Google Classroom platform has become an educational transformation platform for students, teachers, educators, school staff, administration purposes, as well as parents, and is friendly user to all. A study carried out by Nurul Farhana in 2013 found that only 80% of students use ICT for less than 1 hour a week, whereas they spend more time and energy for other purposes that are not related to education, such as social platform, Facebook, Instagrams, and so on. Siti Aminah 2013, based on her study of the use of ICT, discovered that there are still many teachers who lack on their ICT skills, whereby they were unable to use the ICT on their lessons. A study carried out by Boone and Sunny in 2011 resulted the level of computers laboratory in their study schools are at a moderate level and are of well maintained. Noor Zaira, Zulkifli and Muhammad Kasri 2016 had mentioned in their study that teachers need to be prepared and help students in implementing the Google Classroom. Last but not least, the study carried out by Noor Azilawati in 2013 discovered that mostly the obstacle of the use of web-based learning is that there are limited internet access, insufficient time, finishing the syllabus, and heavy workload of teachers. And now let us look at the research methodology. The design of the study in the form of a survey type quantitative method. It is to study the factors that influence the use of Google Classroom among students. The instrument of the study is a questionnaire that contains 4 sections, namely sections A, B, C, and D. Section A is used to obtain background information of respondents, while Section B and C are used to examine the factors that may influence the use of Google Classroom among the students. The item in Part D aim to study the level of use of Google Classroom by students in school. 4 scales Likert used in the study consisted of 1. Strongly disagree, 2. Disagree, 3. Agree, and 4. Strongly agree. The study involved only 66 students of a selected secondary school in the area of Port Dickson based on Crick and Morgan's 1970 sample size determination table. Okay, now let us look at the findings. Number 1 is ICT skills is to answer the first objectives. Findings show that the level of ICT skill of student is at a low level, M equivalent 2.43. The Google Classroom application requires someone skilled in ICT skills as to achieve the real objective of this application. It can be concluded that the program was less effective, although at the beginning of its implementation, it was recognized to be able to benefit students. Number 2 is ICT facilities is to answer the second objective. The level of school ICT facilities is at a low level, M equivalent to 2.19. The majority of students say that low internet access dampens the interest of teachers and students to apply Google Classroom in the classroom. They can only access Google Classroom if they are in a computer lab, but the limited number of computers and unsatisfactory ICT equipment, such as LCD projectors, cause students to choose to study conventionally. Number 3 is the usage of Google Classroom is to answer the third objective. The level of use of Google Classroom as a learning platform among students was at a low level, M equivalent to 2.26. One of the reasons for the failure of students in the application of Google Classroom is the constraint of teachers to finish the teaching syllabus. Most teachers only think of finishing the syllabus, causing students not to have the opportunity to access Google Classroom consistently. And finally, number 4, the relationship between students' ICT skills level and the use of Google Classroom. To answer the last objective, there is a significant positive relationship between the level of ICT skills with the level of use of Google Classroom. These results show that if the level of ICT skills is high, then the use of Google Classroom of students is also high. On the other hand, if the level of ICT skills is low, then the use of Google Classroom among students is also low. And now we come to the conclusion of this study. The integration of Google Classroom in teaching and learning process requires students' ICT skills and school ICT facilities the highest. The results of the study show that there is a significant relationship between the factors of ICT skills with the level of use of Google Classroom among students in the school study. These results have answered the objectives and questions of the study stated. There are still students who are less proficient in ICT skills. Therefore, these students should be worked on the school and the ministry to improve their ICT skills. Unskilled in ICT will slow down government efforts towards increasing the use of Google Classroom application as a whole. According to Rogers, 1983, among the factors that cause individuals to easily accept an innovation is the compatibility and similarity of the innovation with existing values, knowledge, and skills, and in accordance with the needs of the individual. Thank you for watching.